about introductions. You know, I go and I meet a new advisor client, and I say, well, what are you doing about that? And they say, well, you know, I'm not very good at doing it, so I don't do anything. So where we always like to start is, are you delivering value? If you aren't delivering value to your existing clients, you'll never get introductions. So you always want to be sure that when you're with a client meeting, just ask this question. You know, John, you've been a client of mine for the last 7 years, 5 years, whatever the case might be. You know, of all the things we're doing for you, what do you find to be the most valuable? You aren't getting an answer back, and you aren't delivering value. So my perspective when I look at value, I look at that contact management system as value because that's regular contact and follow-up, updating their plans. Great staff, engaged staff, certainly is part of it. Your new client development process is certainly part of it. Your advice is obviously part of it, and then your brand, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So when we talk about introductions, and we work with our clients in terms of positioning it with clients, putting it on the table. We start off with value. Are the clients getting value? Then we turn around and treat the thing with importance. So if you're having a review meeting with a client, don't rush the bloody review meeting. So often I hear my clients say, well, I didn't have time. Book an extra 15 minutes at every meeting. But if it normally takes you an hour to do a review meeting, book an extra 15 minutes so that you've got the time, you're treating it with importance. And then from there, gain permission to just brainstorm for a few minutes around people that they might know and care about that might benefit from the same kind of work that you're doing for them. And then from there, if you know enough about them, if you've done the form, you might even make some suggestions. Well, I know that you play tennis with so-and-so. You know, I don't expect you to know much about their situation, but do you think they might be interested in at least looking at the process that we use to help clients make good decisions? And so you've got a process. And if at the end of the day they say, well, you know, no one comes to mind right now, which by the way will happen most of the time, only about 8% of the time you actually get an introduction, you've planted a seed. And what I see happening now is people planting the seeds, and then those seeds germinate over a period of time. You've got something in, how often you put something in your subconscious, and bingo, it pops out to the conscious? You believe in that? I believe in that in spades, for sure. And so, you know, really understanding that. And so having a very professional way of saying, look, I'm here to help people you know and care about just like I've helped you. Are you comfortable with that? I'm certainly comfortable with it. Would you not be? If you're providing value, I think you should be. And then, of course, centers of influence. So I was talking about Bruce Field. So Bruce is doing this really, really solid work with clients. And finally, one of his clients, CAs, phones him one day and he said, you know, I see the work you're doing for the client because I do his taxes all the time and whatnot. I'd like you to come and see me. So Bruce goes in and he does all the work with the CA. Well, has he got a good center of influence now? You bet your bottom dollar he has. Got a great centers of influence. By educating your centers of influence. I don't know how many would know Brian Fisher from KPMG. He's now retired, but Brian was a great center of influence of ours. But Brian really understood the magic of insurance products. I mean, we spent a lot of time educating Brian on the magic and the inside build-up and the tax-free status, et cetera, and the need for capital for business plans and whatnot. Became a great advocate of ours, so just spending some time educating. But again, that's work that's got to go over the front of the desk, right? You can't be sitting there doing emails all the time. You got to be thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And so here's an idea. You would say, well, I don't have any accountants, let's say, to the centers. Do you have any business clients? Find out who the CAs of those business clients are and go and meet them. Go have lunch. Say we've got a mutual client. I thought we should at least meet. Talk a little bit about it. You know, are you interested in perhaps having a strategic alliance with someone in the financial services business, someone who could be a resource for you? Because I'm sure you get approached a lot from your clients around different proposals. I'd be prepared to be that resource for you. By the way, you know, and some of them are very interested in being educated. They don't want to be made look stupid in front of their client, so you take it off-site and you spend some time educating them. They can be great centers. We all know in Canada the CA is the most trusted advisor of your business plans. I think that's a pretty obvious thing. So, you know, certainly having that. And then networking. Well, one of the guys who again, a name you'll know, Doug McPhail, who's now retired. Doug was the greatest little networker of anybody I ever met. He was a member of this golf club. He was a member of the KW Racket Club. He was a member of the Conestoga Rotary Club. He was a member of the Toronto Ski Club. Remember this, remember that. Every cocktail party going, Doug was always there. He was just a good little networker. And all he would do is he'd go out, he'd kind of, again, just plant some seeds, and then make an approach to someone. And by golly, he did a pretty good job in terms of building up a pretty fine business. And that was really Doug as the prospect. So what I'm saying to you is that you're sitting behind your desk every morning. You go in the office tomorrow morning. Think about, what am I going to do on purpose to meet someone new that I can help? And if you woke up every morning with that attitude, you will be amazed at how all of a sudden you'll grow 25 or 30 new clients a year. Because it just unfolds. That's the way it is. So, what does work? Confidence and value, passion for helping people. Now, I want to talk a little bit about branding, marketing and branding, because I think this again is an issue around differentiating yourself. It's a crowded marketplace. People don't really understand what a brand is. People have very ineffective marketing. I mean, advisors will come to me and say, I need a website. Well, what's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like? And I want to talk about that. They don't understand what the client values, can't communicate their value, don't know where to go for help. So, you've seen this graph in terms of financial planning, but this applies to marketing. So a client will come to me and say, I need a website, I need a brochure, or whatever the case might be. We can't develop a touch point or a tactic without really having a plan and a strategy in place. And that's where my buddy Fortunato comes in, because he helps people create and develop a brand. Something that represents who they are and what they do. And then from there, a strategy, and then the tactics come out from there, the touch points. He identifies what the business personality is. Let me ask him, which one do you connect with better? Doesn't that tell the story? And so, we make most of our decisions around emotional things, right? It's all emotional. I mean, the cars that we drive, if you were just going facts, well, you'd buy the cheapest thing out there, right? But you buy things because they're emotional. And then you kind of right brain. So you develop a powerful brand. And then once you've got your brand in place, now you can go back and do some touch points around client acquisition, client development, client services, and customer-client relationships. And your clients recognize it when you've got your act together, when everything looks the same, looks and feels the same, and really picks off what's unique about you. So again, we go back to Manish. Kim Pullen, who some of you will know, did the client interviews when they did the branding for Manish, and the clients absolutely loved Manish. It was interesting. I don't think he realized how much clients appreciated what he brought to the table. Manish on this table, he's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Just a very, very nice guy. And so they captured this in terms of his brand. This is a fella up in Collingwood, Blue Rock Financial on the right-hand side, and again, kind of captured that look and feel. So I think you've got to figure out where the emotional connection is between your clients and you. Peter Sullivan, a client of ours in Toronto, is a real good skier, kind of an outdoorsy kind of guy. I don't think I have anything here on Peter today, but when Fortunato did the branding work on him, they captured that in all of his material.
Hey Art, if I could add one thing to that, because it's a really key point. Before you do any branding, you need to know what your story is. And so with these people, like Blue Whale, what is your story? What is your passion or something that you're very passionate about in life? And how can you apply that into a brand? And if you can develop a really compelling story, people like to tell stories, and they like to share stories. And if your story is inspiring or inspires hope, then there's more chance of you being more referable. If you tell people what you do, then you sound like everybody else. But the first thing you want to do is communicate why you do what you do. And that's where a compelling story comes first before you do any implementation of your branding.
Thanks, Forge.
Yep.
One of the things that Forge has offered for anyone that's in this room is that if you'd like a brand assessment, in other words, you'd like to look at what you currently have in place, like an assessment, he's giving you a early Christmas present here, and he'll give it to you for half price for $250.
Merry Christmas.
So let me just wrap up here by just saying, what does work, what doesn't work? Well, activity does work, lack of it doesn't work. So I think you really got to ask yourself the question, have I got the right amount of activity? Have I got processes in place? Do I have a new client process in place? Have I got my contact management system in place? I've got those things going. Do I understand the sales cycle? And what am I doing about the top half of the circle so that I can be that 3 out of 4 person, but I got lots of 4s. So really understanding that. And then being new client focused. Like, unless you're just about ready to retire, I think you need to have some balance in terms of adding new clients to your business every year. And then finally, having a brand, allowing yourself to distinguish yourself in this very crowded marketplace. So ideas are a dime a dozen. The person that implements is priceless. You've got that little brochure that I've given you. Hopefully you've written down a couple of to-dos that when you get back in the office tomorrow morning, you'll start doing it. If there's anything that I've said that you want a copy of or whatever, just rip off that little tear sheet. You can just give it to me over there a little later on. And I thank you very much for your attention.